Yes, this is Sean. How are you?
I could terribly sorry. Was that you that just called a minute ago? I missed it.
It was, but I forgive you because your voicemail is hilarious. So I had a nice little chuckle, and so it was all good. You're forgiven.
Yeah. I don't like voicemail.
I don't blame you either. Do I?
I
Text.
don't actually know how to use it. That's the problem. I'm trying to warn people off leaving important knowledge there for me because I'll never hear it, and then we'll be in a world of pain.
Oh well, I suppose that little sentence leads me straight into where we are heading. The album is 20 years old, so I mean, obviously you're old now too. But let's go back to the album's age instead. We'll focus on the age of the album and not the participants of creating the album. I think that would be better.
Well, I mean, you could put two and two together. It'd have to be at least 20, wouldn't it?
Yes, exactly. You know, you were a young genius, and here you are today, 20 years old,
you.
celebrating.
Would that be the title of the article? Young genius.
Young genius, yes.
Yeah.
Consider it done.
Thanks, John.
So, I'm a parent of a 7-year-old kid, and I get really just shook every day looking at her, saying, 7 years old, how did this happen? You have a 20-year-old child here that still is demanding attention from you. Like, how do, for you know, I'm going to be cliche here, but how does that feel? Like, you know, this is something that you created, and here you are still just loving it and celebrating it as much as you did the day it was released.
I know, like, I created that baby, I sent it out into the world to fend for itself. I didn't expect it to come back 20 years later and ask me to pay for its schooling. I just thought it was just going to go out there and make its own way. But for some reason, it's come back to haunt me, and it's moved in, and now we're best friends again.
Oh, I'm glad that that relationship is now mended.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So you how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you guys were creating this album? Like, you're just young little people.
How old was I? Oh, I actually have no idea. I'm 45 now.
Okay.
So can you do the maths? I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
It was 20 years ago.
20 years ago, I'd say 25.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
got
when
there.
We were making it, I would have been 24.
Okay, wow. So 24 and...
How old are you, Sean?
I am 32.
Ah, 32.
Yeah.
You're over the hill.
I'm a little young'un. But I did buy this album the week it was released, so that does kind of make me a little bit old if we look at it that way.
So you were 4?
12.
Hang on. Oh, yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah.
My bad. Well, you're 34.
I'm 32. 20 years ago from 32 would make me 12, wouldn't it?
You were 12.
Yeah.
You were 12.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
So as a 12-year-old, you took yourself, you borrowed your mum's car.
No.
Got there at McDonald's and went to JB Hi-Fi and got the album.
Nah, it was at Senity.
Oh.
It was at Senity. We were there, I'm guessing it was after soccer. We were there,
Oh, yeah.
and I had my pocket money, and heard this on the Jays. I heard the single on the Jays because my brother was smashing the Jays, and just like I am now, if I have money, I need to spend it. And I saw this, I was like, hey, I remember that song, so I spent at the time, probably $30 on a CD, and hey, here I am talking to you now.
Mum to take you down to the shop?
Yeah, got my mum to take me down to the shops. Still do it now at the age of 32.
What a great moment. I love that. Thanks for setting the scene there. That was fun.
Oh, that's all right. I love to paint a picture.
Yeah, me too. I'm very visual.
So, 20 years on, is there any problems relating to some of the songs that you wrote back then, especially the lyrical content?
As in, do they still apply?
Yes,
No.
yes. No, I gathered.
No, the situations themselves that I was writing about has fortunately been fixed since then, because there was a lot of problems in our band back in the day, and I used to write about a lot of the tension. So I look at the songs now with kind of a different reflection. They mean different things to me now than what they did then.
So
Thank God.
was there a form of, I suppose, passive aggressiveness coming through in the lyrics, and During times on stage, you could just stare right into the soul of one of the members while singing a line.
Yep, absolutely. The lead guitarist Chris and I used to fight on stage. Sometimes, if it was really bad, he would just stand in front of me and just solo so that no one could see me.
Wow, this is like a true rock star documentary. I didn't know it went this deep. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it probably wasn't for you.
But it was like the worst. Like, if the tension was really bad before a gig, we would always know that they were our best gigs. If there was no tension, the gig was okay, but it was nothing to write home about. But when there was loads of tension, and trust me, there was, they were always the interesting shows. But yeah, it was like sort of just trying to sabotage each other all the time.
What a confusing time it would have been for you all. Like, you do good when you're at your worst. When you're all getting along, you kind of have a crappy, or not crappy, but just a mediocre show.
Yeah, totally. No, it's like you sort of have to be in pain to create good art. I mean, I don't feel like that now, but I definitely felt like that in the 90s. But it was a very 90s thing to do, to sit around and think about your own pain and use that into art.
Oh, definitely. It's that was the and in the style of music you guys were in the grungy kind of rock. You had to. That was the
totally.
That was pre-emo.
Yeah, totally. Put your flanny on, and sit around getting depressed about your life.
That's right. Hey, you're describing me right now. Hey, thank you. What? No, I'm good. So, how did the band manage to release some more music, more albums, and stay together without a death of a band member? Or, I mean, you guys had a good trod the first time around. How did you stay together? Hello? Oh, that beach. Sorry, was the question too bad?
No, the question was great. Yeah, I had only ever written with Chris, so when he left, I'd never written a song with anybody else or by myself. My only experience of songwriting had been with him. So that was terrifying, and the band was at its height, and we had a lot of people's jobs on the line. It was a big machine, and everyone was looking to the band going, come up with your next record. And I was like, shit, what do I do without Chris? I don't really know what to do. So I went out and I bought a book called How to Write Hit Songs, and I read 3 chapters of it, and I thought, fuck this, that's enough, I know what I'm doing, and I ditched it, and then just started writing, and then it became easy. But there was a few moments where it was pretty dark, but I had to, there was no choice. I couldn't say, okay, let's not do it. I can't do it without Chris. There's no way I was going to do that. No way.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So you only had to read 3 chapters and you perfected the art. So are you going to be writing the sequel to the book now?
Yeah, but you know what? One day I should actually read the book. I've got it sitting here in my bookshelf, and I put stickers all over it because I had it on the road, and I was embarrassed that someone would see that I was reading a book called How to Write Hit Songs. So I put a big sticker on the front so that you couldn't see what it was. And I've never actually read the rest of it past the first 3 chapters. But I remember thinking those 3 chapters were great.
Yeah. Well, I imagine what you could achieve once you finish the book.
Yeah, I know. I just opened up to a chapter then. It was called Bear in Mind. Great.
So,
I'm doing that when I'm hibernating for the winter.
So going from, as we said, like grunge rock, to then 20 years later, we're going to represent the album, and we're going to lead it with Kylie Minogue's Confide in Me. How did that come about?
Well, I've always loved that song, and I love the riff. And years ago, back in the 90s, we recorded a demo of just the guitars. I had no intention of ever singing it, but just the guitars playing that badass riff, because it's a cool riff.
Yeah.
But we never actually put it into any sort of form or anything. And when we were doing the Hotter Than Hell tour last year, was it this year? This year. The band was all together after a show, and we were talking about what to do next and where we think we should go. And I went into the kitchen to get a beer, and it was on TV. And because I was with the boys, I was thinking about the band at the time, thinking about what to do next. That song came on, I thought it was a sign, so we recorded it. But we revamped it so it sounded totally different.
Yes, it's not something that you'd come across on the radio and think, "Ooh, Kylie Minogue." So you've made it your own, which is very tasty, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's really fun to play too, fun to sing.
Did recreating that song and heading back into the studio spark any flames for any new material coming from the Superjesus?
We have been doing a bit of writing. We've been hanging out a lot, doing a bit of writing, talking about what to do next. So I think the excitement of the tour has kind of put a bit of a rocket up our asses. So we'll see if we can pull out a new record. Who knows?
That's very exciting. Do you see that working alongside your solo endeavours as well?
Yeah, well, I get bored doing the same thing for too long. So, I mean, maybe after the Superjesus tour, I'll be bored and I'll need to do a solo thing first and then come back to the Superjesus. I don't know. I just like to juggle different things so that I've always got something inspiring on the go.
Hey, why not? I mean, you gotta keep yourself interested, and especially when it comes to music, you don't want to be bored. Otherwise, you're gonna go insane.
Exactly.
So as you said, you were on the hotter as hell tour with just the perfection of an Australian lineup. Every band that's ever been good in Australia kind of played it. There are newer Australian bands though, and I'd love to hear what you're listening to, like some Australian acts that an Australian legend loves.
Well, at the moment, I've sort of like I do a lot of production work, so I like to listen to upcoming artists and try and help young bands to formulate their sound. So because I noticed that in the industry these days, there's not a lot of there's no long-term plan with bands. Like record companies used to sign bands when they were embryonic, and they would give them like a 6-year plan, and they would work them gently. But now it's just kind of like you need a hit, and if you don't have it, you don't have a chance in hell. So I like to sort of work with young bands to help them create their songs and stuff. So, but one who I'm really loving at the moment is called Belmont Hayes, who's a chick from Melbourne who I just love, and I'm going to do her next record. I'm hoping. She's got the most beautiful voice. So if you hear her around the traps, check it out.
Definitely, we'll be tagging her in this interview when it goes live, so people know where to go.
Great, yeah, do it.
That's awesome. Well, Sarah, it's awesome chatting with you. I know I used the word awesome at least 40 times in this interview already, but
that's okay. It's obviously one of your go-to comments, and you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a Hillsong church, just saying this is awesome and thank you and awesome. But
just keep smiling, and clapping.
Just yes, the knowledge of me purchasing an album that I adored for such a long time and still do, to now chatting to you and getting into the history. It's a rad thing to do. So thank you for giving me that chance, and hopefully we'll get to have a bit of a chat when you come to Newcastle on the 21st of October.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. You coming to the show?
Yes, I'll be there.
Excellent.
I'll be the tall bearded guy standing up the front having everyone complain I'm blocking their view.
Oh, you're that guy.
Yep.
Awesome.
But I am old now, so I think I might move my way to the back. Too many people touching me.
The whole crowd will be old, so they can't all go to the back.
No, that's true. There's just going to be a bunch of people lining the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you'll see that wall liner there on the 21st.
Oh, I look forward to it. Thanks, Sean.
No worries, Sarah. I'll see you soon.
All right, take it easy, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.